It's a quiet time before the dawn, and I'm half past making sense of it. Was I wrong? Should I think to give it all in a world where not much ever seems to last long? If this love's not meant to be, if our heart's not ready to open, if we're naked I won't see it's broken. If this love's not meant to be, if our heart's not ready to open, if we're naked I won't see it's broken.
Again, it was a wee bit of a mixed season for the club, but if we go to 16-17, and two highlights. One was getting the top six, but then the county game, April Dool's days, it will forever be known as.
Yeah,
The 100
that was amazing.
and the 101st, just for good
As well,
measure.
yeah.
And that's just the way I always seem to be in it. You wait all that time for 100 and then 101 come along at the same time, like 2 minutes later, whatever it is. It was the same with waiting for a hat trick and then all of a sudden score 4.
It's just as well you didn't think of putting another t-shirt underneath because you'd have get sent off.
Aye. No, it was just an amazing. I mean, to score 100 goals, like I said, folk go through their full career and don't get anywhere near 100. You know, the strikers who will be less than half of that in a full career. So for me to score 100 goals for one club was a huge achievement for me, and something that obviously I'm very proud of, and it was just an incredible day as well. And I think the main thing for me that day was, one, I was wearing the captain's armband because Abdul Osman had went off injured because he's soft and he always goes off injured, so he went off, and I had to get the armband off him, and so I scored the 100 goal, and then like I said, that only equalised. That was because we'll get beat 1-0.
That's right.
So that was only the equaliser, and I always said in the kind of build up to the 100 goals that what I didn't want to do was score 100 goals, score my 100th goal in a game that, you know, you get beat 5-1, and it's forgotten about, you know, and it means nothing. I wanted the goal, my 100th goal, to be a goal that meant something. And then luckily, obviously, it was a few minutes later, or whether it was 5 minutes later,
right,
I won and get the 101st, and we actually win the game. So now when I look back at it, not only did I score 100 goals, my 100th goal in the Premier League, wearing the captain's armband at home, but I then went on and scored the winning goal in the game that got us 3 points, and we went on and made the top 6 that season. So everything, I think that full season, it felt as if everything was falling into place in terms of, you know, what was supposed to happen.
Yeah. And County was a team, they were one of the other teams I'd mentioned at the start, you know, that you did have a knack for scoring goals against them. Was that just because Foxy was there?
I love scoring against Foxy. Loved it. Actually, he still hates seeing. He must have watched that goal against him because he sees it every time it's played, and he always texts me and says, "I can't believe it's me that scored against him." He just hates it. But the one thing I actually said, I think it's quite funny with Foxy. Foxy told me that he witnessed my first goal because he was on the bench at Queen of the South.
Right. All right.
And I scored my 100th goal against him, which I actually I hadn't realised at the time. That he'd been at Queen of the South at the time. I think he was on loan at the time.
Right, he was like an amateur or something, was he?
I think he was on. I think he was on loan.
On loan, was it? Yeah.
Which I didn't realise that, but you know, it's probably quite fitting that's. And it was actually nice of Foxy. You know, after the game, he came over and gave me a cuddle after the game and stuff.
That's right.
He was as chuffed. He obviously tried to save it, but he was as chuffed as I was, which just shows you the type of person he is as well.
No, good on him, because he always took a hard time for the Thistle fans, didn't he? It was over the top as well, do you know what I mean, when he joined Ross County. They always came it to him tight, you know. So
he gets pelters. That's why we enjoy scoring against them.
I think the other thing is again, just picking out a highlight. I think this is probably one stat that's overlooked, and that was 21st April against Hamilton Accies, 2018. Do you know what happened that day? Do you know why that was a landmark day?
No.
It was your 100th league goal.
All right.
Right, okay. Right. That's the one that made me the all time.
It never really gets mentioned at all.
Right. Okay.
Obviously, the season it was probably is maybe
Yeah.
why it's kind of forgotten about. But as you say, Chris, 100 goals for the same club, but also to have 100 league goals for the same club is a hell of an achievement.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things that I'm really proud of is I didn't take many penalties.
No,
it's no a thing that for me it's taking penalties isn't. I would step up and take them, but I wouldn't say, for instance, Boydie, who I'm friendly with, has scored loads and loads of penalties because that's the type of person he is. That he's step up, he'll take loads of penalties, but he's also on a team that win loads of penalties.
Yeah.
So he was always getting more and more. So we were always at a stage where we hardly ever got them. And when we did, it was, it was when we did, it was like, well, I'll try. So to look back and think, I actually scored over 100 goals, 121 goals. I didn't actually score many penalties. So most of it, well, all of it is from open play, which is a lot more difficult than obviously stepping up and hitting a dead ball for penalty spot. But 100 league goals, and I knew, like I said, everything was falling into place that season because I knew I could become the club's all-time top goal scorer for league goals if I made 100.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long that'll last, that record, but I'd imagine it'll last for.
Don't think it'll be
quite a
beaten,
while.
Well, certainly.
I don't know if this season it'll be overtaken, but I'd imagine it'll maybe stand for a wee while.
Well, I was just going to say about that, there was one more goal that we never get credited with.
Yes.
Against Morton.
The ghost goal, horrendous.
What? Talk us through that, if you can.
I'm claiming that. I'm counting that. That counts.
Of course.
I bumped into the referee that just at Arbroath we were playing. Was it Stirling Albion in the cup at the start of the season, and the referee, I can't remember the guy's name. Was it Cook?
Barry Cook.
Barry Cook. Yeah. After the game, we're walking off the pitch, and Barry Cook had given me a shout. And as nice as it could have been, and he actually apologised, and he kind of said, like, just to have a chat about it, he said, I put my hands up, but it was a terrible mistake that we made as officials.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very, very nice about it. And I kind of said, like, it's obviously we all laugh about it and stuff, but it was no harm done. It's just obviously we won. Was it 1-0? Did we win?
Only won 1-0, aye. But that could change things altogether. You win 2-0. You get a bit more confidence, you go on and get a third one or something like that, it can change things,
Coming back to the end of the season, I think when we were in the Premiership we were relegated, was it no goal difference that put us into the...
One goal.
Aye,
one
so
goal.
If you think about that, if that was the same with the ghost goal, your goals, that's why they're like gold dust, because they can obviously keep you in divisions, and likewise they could drop you out divisions, but it was nice of him obviously to speak to him. But just going back to the goal, even when I see it now, I think it just still makes me laugh. I just can't understand. And you look at the reaction of people, half of the Morton team are walking away. Tidser kicks the ball into the stand in frustration, and you get a throw in. I just couldn't get my head. I still can't get my head around it. It just makes me laugh.
Well, I remember the previous goal, the Paddy Connolly one for Dundee United at that end as well. If you've ever seen film of that, and it's just astonishing. He hits it off the stance and it comes down. What's the big centre back? Martin Clark, was it? He picks it up, hands it to Andy Murdoch, he kicks it away.
Unbelievable.
Play on.
I hadn't actually seen it. I'd heard about it stuff. I hadn't actually seen just how mental it really was. And the day after that goal, we actually, I think myself, Squiddy, Maxie, Archie, a couple other people were called into the stadium. There was a kind of lunch thing on at the stadium with the thing. So we went in, and I was talking to Maxie and a couple other people, and Jerry Britton was there, and Jerry was saying he was involved in the game with Paddy Conley.
Mhm.
I think was Jerry playing or I think he said he was in the box and he said he's actually saw him just hand him the ball and he said everybody just kind of looked about and they were like, let's just play on like. And I thought, no way, like surely that didn't happen. And I seen it, and you think, wow, how does that even? I mean, mine was bad, but that one's ridiculous.
It's funny as well. Like just a lot of things you didn't realise, but that game that was Jim McLean in charge and John Lambie in charge. And John Lambie was nearly fighting with Jim McLean. He said he was going to break his arms and his legs if he runs by him again. Do you know, like never in. Do you know?
I think does it not hit the stanchion? Does it hit the?
Yeah, I mean,
it bounces out. Like, so obviously that's why we don't have stanchions anymore. I'm guessing.
That's right.
That did lead to it changing.
Was it? I can see why.
Okay. Cool.
It was just, I mean, when I actually seen it get in, and it's a decent goal as well. It's not a goal I would normally score. That's what I was more annoyed about. I was going to say, like,
what you telling me?
I've
never scored for distance.
No, that was a good 16, 17 yards out. That's quite far out for me. And I've turned, it's obviously hit the bar, and it's been in, and I thought, where I'm standing, and I've hit the ball, I can see it hit the bar, it bounces down, it looks as if it hits the side net or the back of the net. See the net bulging.
Back of the net and back out again.
It's not even as if it's like close.
It's just a strange bounce because it came out quite quickly. But everybody saw it was a goal. Nobody in the stadium could understand what was going on.
Do you know something, Alan? It's a really good point because you made there about you know if we'd scored, because obviously Chris Erskine scored the first goal and you'd scored that day. You were two talisman of the team, and it was only a few weeks later when Archie got fired. So perhaps if that did count. And then went on to score a third to the conference lifted and things like that, because we were playing some reasonable stuff at the time.
Yeah, it can change things.
Absolutely. And then God, look where we are now after that moment.
Yeah. Well, your last goals, Chris, were ironically against Morton in a 3-0 away win where you scored twice, and at that point then with the change of manager as well. It wasn't a good season, there's no doubt in that. Scott McDonald, I think, then came in as well towards that season, experienced pro. You didn't play that often together, which was a shame because the times the two of you did well in the park at the same time, looked really lively, and I would imagine for both of you, with the movement and the nippiness as well and the experience, it must have been quite a bit of fun as well, though, playing against some of these defenders, knowing I know he'll be away or he'll do this. And, when you talk about
the two of us actually really enjoyed playing together. I think that was one of the things when Scott came in, that he wasn't coming in to be a lone striker. He didn't want to be I mean, I don't know what age Scott would have been when he came in, but he wanted to come in and play with other strikers. And I thought as soon as he came in, we just hit it off in terms of movement and link up play. And you could just see that we could play together. So anytime that I ever got to play with Scott, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and especially you see the Morton game. If you look back in the Morton game, there's so many things that happen with myself and Scott involved that there was something there, and just a shame we maybe didn't get to play more often together because I think we both thoroughly enjoyed it.
It certainly looked a cracking partnership.
I thought that too, Raymond. I could see a bit of spark between them. You could experience two players that know what they're doing. You know what I mean? You could see a bit. Didn't happen often enough, no, for me either.
But the end of 18-19, decision was made not to renew your contract. Did you see it coming?
No, not at all. I didn't know a thing until maybe the kind of Thursday, I think it was, after the season had finished. The season had finished, and it was 4 or 5 days later. We were asked to come into the stadium. So no, I mean, it's the same as any season that finishes. It'd obviously been a rubbish season. It was terrible in terms of, you'd expected to be challenging at one end, and all of a sudden, on the last day of the season, you're still fighting to stay in the division, which was just a horrible season. But the main thing was that the club stayed in the division. I think that was the kind of relief. It was more relief than anything else for everybody that were in the championship, because to go down when in a season where you're expected to be at the other end challenging, it would have been ridiculous. So I think it was more relief for everybody else, and I was the same. Everybody wants to see the club. I wanted to keep the club in the Championship, so I was relieved that we stayed in the division. But no, I mean, I didn't know a thing until I was told to come in the stadium.
Because you and Kris both took pay cuts at the start of that season. Okay, Kris had then moved on to Livingston in January. It's your testimonial year. It's, we've spoke about it, off air and that, but I mean, for fans, sort of watching in, everybody, it was absolutely flabbergasting, the decision and the timing of the decision.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, I think, like I said before, football managers make decisions. That's what they're paid to do. They're paid to make football decisions, and that's fine. Obviously, I think looking back, we all know it wasn't handled very well, and that's been kind of spoken about, and I'm sure the club won't make those mistakes again. I think that's the kind of thing that we learn from it. But and my take on it is that when I look back at my time in Partick Thistle, that won't even come up. When I think of the memories I have as a player at Partick Thistle, that last wee small blip won't even come into my thoughts. So because I've got more, I had 10.5 years at the club that I achieved so much personally and as a club, because I was lucky that I was at the club at an amazing time. And when I think back, all those games in the Premiership and goals in the Premiership and the Championship, whatever it may be, they're all treasured memories for me. So yes, it wasn't handled very well or the timing, etc. But that was the decision that was made. And but like I said, to me, you dust yourself down, you become resilient, and you have to move on.
I think when you look back though, when you look at the way Gary handled some of the situations, when you were kind of well set in the club, should I say, at that point, you seen the way that he handled Chris Erskine, you seen the way that he handled Niall Keown and Bryce and ostracising the boys and things like that. It must have been a tough dressing room. Obviously, last game of the season, Queen of South, you mentioned you never came on. You were on the bench that day as well. Must have been, do you not maybe looking back thinking, God, there was some signs, but I just never picked up on them. This guy never challenged people. This is just the way he's seen it.
I think at that time in the season, I mean, everything was going from bad to worse. I think that was the main thing. That it just was getting worse and worse, and that's why I think the relief when the club finally in the last day of the season managed to stay in the division. I think that when I look around at all the players, everybody was just relieved that we'd actually somehow managed to stay in the league, because it was getting ridiculous. Just to the point, we're all starting to think, we shouldn't be down in the last day of the season, going to Queen of South, having to win to stay up. But when we were expected to be in the other end of the division. So I think for that point of view, I think everybody just wanted to get to the end of the season and hopefully get the club safe, because it just wasn't going well at all. But like I said, from my point of view, it was more like, looking back, the fact I didn't actually know that was my last game at the club, and I think that kind of hurts in terms of that, see, if I'd known that was going to be your last game, my family were there anyway. Mm-hmm. I brought my wee girl on the pitch, just like I would always do. I always bring her on the pitch anyway, at the end of the season, just because, that's great to come and see all the supporters and stuff. So I brought her on the pitch, but I didn't actually know that was going to be my last game. And we're waving and everything, we didn't even know that was us waving goodbye. So it was just, it's thinking back, it won't paint anything in my Partick Thistle career. I don't think it even comes close to any of the memories I have, and hopefully, fans can remember the good things that we had. I think you've seen in my testimonial day.
I was going to say that
the testimonial was just, it was incredible. Mm-hmm. Again, I think the stars aligned that day, because we had beautiful sunshine.
It was a lovely day.
Thousands of Thistle fans, families there, kids. That was the whole point, and that was what we wanted. And I think that's the way Thistle should be every week, not just once every 10 years. And I think that's what the club obviously has, that capacity to do that. And I think that's the way the club should be. And I'm sure it'll be like that. I just think it's it was obviously a tough time, or it's been a tough time, but you know, that's the aim, to get back to that type of environment.
What was it like coming back to Thistle? You know, back to Firhill, playing against Thistle and scoring.
I think that was inevitable. That was, I said to him, I call it at the time, the only reason you're signing me is to get me to score against Partick Thistle, because you know when we go to Firhill, I'll score. And he was kind of laughing at it. I know that's why you brought me here.
Well, we all knew it as well.
But it was inevitable. It really was. I mean, I went to United. I didn't start. Like I said, I hardly played any games at United. And it was, I mean, Ian McCall obviously went to Thistle pretty quickly, which maybe didn't help, because obviously he brought me into the club. But it was just inevitable. And I think when we went to Firhill that day, he knew I was going to score, and I knew I was going to score, and we just had this kind of look about us, that the wee look in his eye that just told me that he trusted me on the pitch that day. And you know, it was always going to happen. I think, was it 2 players Thistle get sent off?
Banzo got the second one, wasn't
it? Who went off first?
I remember it was a red card just at the start of at the end of the first half.
Right.
Was it?
I can't remember who it was went off, but
obviously
the sending offs had an effect. On the game, but you know, it was like I said, you still have to go and put the ball in the net. It was inevitable that it was going to land at me. It was good, and in actual fact, just before I scored, I had another chance, and Jamie saved it. So I've turned, and he's probably been around me so long that he knew where I was going to put it, and he's ended up saving it. And I thought, was that my chance? Like, was that the chance that you know I had and I've missed? And I could tell Jamie was delighted that he'd saved it. He was smirking, because he's obviously got one over me. And then I think it's maybe 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, Stephen Bell, I think it is, hits a shot, and it actually nearly, I don't know if it goes through my legs or it just goes up the side of me, hits the post, and as I turn round, it's just coming straight back to me. And like I say, it couldn't, the stars again, it just fall to me in the box, and it's come back straight to me, and I put it in the other corner. And I just think, if it's Firhill, I'll score. You know, and that's the kind of mentality we have. If it's Firhill, there's a good chance I'll score here, because I know my way around. And I just think that game, Ian McCall had a look in his eye to me that just told me, I've hardly started a game till then, you know, and I was fully fit, I was training well, there was nothing. But I think you're saving me for this game, like this one game. This is what you're saving me for. And but it was just inevitable. Like I said, the 2 sending offs don't help, I suppose. And there was obviously a bit of something going on, but it was just kind of, I don't know, it just was a feeling that, you know, if I get a chance here, I'll score today. And obviously, the strange, what the strangest thing was that day, not obviously that I scored against Thistle. The Thistle fans cheered.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, it wasn't a big, massive roar the way it usually was, but the fact that the home team, or the away team, I suppose it would have been, is cheering a goal against them, to me, and it was strange, because it was just like, it just probably shouldn't happen like that. You know, it shouldn't be cheered. But you know, I can understand why, and I was grateful for why. So I just thought that just shows the kind of level that the Thistle fans and myself have always been at. So.
I think it was a cheer of recognition that you shouldn't have been away in the first place, to be honest. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, like I said, I just thought, you know, that was a nice touch, because you would never get that else other clubs, or I don't think I would ever get that anywhere else. So if you go and score against the team you've now left, so it was a nice touch.
So you left there. You had a brief spell with Morton, but that was obviously the pandemic kicked in. You're now at Arbroath. So how's life under Dick Campbell?
I'm really enjoying it at Arbroath. The travelling is horrendous. It's mad. But you know, travelling right now, being able to travel is not everybody can travel, can they? You're just all stuck at home. So it's a privilege that I'm actually allowed to travel to do something that I love doing. And right now, you know, I've thoroughly enjoyed Arbroath. It's got me back really enjoying playing football, a great bunch of players, and I see a lot in the team that I seen at Partick Thistle. You know, a lot of good players, but a lot of guys who get on together. And I'm not saying necessarily going and win the league, but I think that can bring you success in whatever shape or form that is. And to Arbroath, that's about staying in the championship.
Yeah.
So if that's what stays in the champion, it gets the team to stay in the championship. That's success.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of that at the club. And you just that enjoyment again. You know, enjoying your football. It's been great. And like I said, the travelling is something that you get used to. But right now, it's a privilege to just be able to do it. But it's been great so far. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Moving on. Let's go to, before we talk about your academy, your top 3 goals.
Yep. Do you want them in third place first?
Aye, build it up.
I went, I think I already spoke about it, but the Queen of the South, the goal, just when I was just called back from my loan deal, and from the edge of the box, I think it's David Rowson, just rolls it to me, probably not expecting me to do anything with it. And first, you know, Rowser's probably, you know, David's like, he probably just gave it so he didn't have to lose it. He probably just gave it to somebody else. So I remember him just rolling it really softly, and I just had already looked at the goals, I'd seen where the goalie was, and I thought, I'll take it on. But that kind of goal, the reason I put it in at number 3 is it kind of announced me back at Partick Thistle.
Yeah.
You know, I'd obviously came in my first 6 months, and I'd scored 5 goals, and I'd a few the next season, but I'd never really set the tone that I was the striker for the club. And I was aware of that. So I think when I get brought back, I mean, what was that, the 93rd minute or something, or 92nd minute, and put that one in the top corner, that to me just kind of set the tone. And then obviously that was the last game of the season. Next season, we won and scored 18 goals. And I just think even as the manager, Ian McCall at the time, over that summer, I could tell he was planning to use me as the main striker. Just the way he was with me by the end of the season. The pre-season, I came back in really good shape, as I always do, but I came back in good shape. I was ready to be the number 9. And I think that's why I put it in at number 3, because it just the kind of, not necessarily just for how good a goal it is, it's obviously a very good goal, but the fact that it announced me as being the kind of, I'll be the number 9, and obviously I would be number 9 for the next however many years. So that was the reason I put that number 3. Number 2, I went for the back heel. I think like I was said, to cap off a hat trick in such a style with a back heel was just, it's a kind of cheeky goal, and it's this and it's that. But that night, I felt as if I could have scored doing anything. You know, it just felt to me as if left foot, right foot, header, whatever it was, I was ready. And I always feel like that. I think that's the way I feel on the pitch all the time, and it's because I practice that way. You know, I don't just practice one specific type of finishing. I'll practice to finish in any way, shape, or form, so that I'm ready. And I always feel as if it doesn't matter what way it comes to me, I'll score. But that night, like we spoke about, it was just an amazing time. And when I see it back, and you see that it's a back heel, it's just incredible. That, I mean, I've never scored another goal like that in my life, and I probably won't ever score another goal. It's a bit. There's other goals the same that I've never scored again. But to look back, and it's a real memory for me.
It's the way the goalkeeper's just totally wrong-footed, and then he starts complaining about something. He goes, that can't be right.
It's just,
must be something
it's brilliant. Wrong. It's just a brilliant. And then, like I said, that was the hat trick, and I thought, brilliant. My first hat trick. 2 minutes later, Sod Crossy's one, and I headed it into the bottom corner. It's just the way it seems to work. And then number 1, I went for the solo goal against Hibs. Obviously, another goal that I've never scored again, and I had never scored up until then. I don't know what possessed me to take it from where it was, but that was even just to sit back and watch that goal. I just think, I remember that actual full game, because it was obviously December. It was a tough game at Easter Road, but it was just into the second half. We did a tough first half, but I was determined, and I was so determined that I was going to make an impact in the game that night. And we'd had a kind of couple of half chances, but nothing great. And then, I mean, it's a kind of clearance for Higginbottom. It's not even that a pinpoint pass. It is a good pass from him, but it's just into an area, and I managed to get to it first. But the minute I turned him, my eyes were just set on the goalkeeper. And thinking back to it, I think I spoke about this before. There was a game at Firhill where we played Hibs, and I was clean through in the goalie. I don't know if you remember, it was a night-time game. I was clean through in the goalie, and the ball was bouncing, and he's went to run out, and I was waiting on him running out, and I would lob it over the top of him. And for some strange reason, I took a touch, and I've controlled the ball dead. And then I thought, oh no, what have I done? And as soon as I controlled it, he's ran out. I've tried to pass it round him, and he saved it. Hibs broke up the park. He got a free kick, and Liam Craig stuck it in the top corner, and they won 1-0. Right. And I actually stood at the back, up front, and I was watching through my fingers, thinking, I've let everybody down. And I took it really slowly. Actually, I was really annoyed with myself, because 90 times out of 100, I would score, and I just thought, what possessed me to take a touch? I was actually waiting on him coming out, and he's came out, and I should just have lobbed it over him. Anyway, then when we get to Easter Road, I had this in my head thinking, I should have chipped you already at Firhill. So when I was clean through, there was no doubt in my mind. As soon as he runs off his line, I'm clipping it over his head. And he could have ran out 1 foot, and I'd still have clipped it over his head. But it just happened that he actually ran it a wee bit further. But it all kind of stems back to that game at Firhill, where I just think that night at Easter Road, I was possessed that I wanted to put it right, that I could score against Hibs. But more so that the game at home, when I should have chipped him and I didn't. And that's why it ends up getting clipped over his head. And it's no that I was running through thinking, oh, this is the best. I was actually running through. I was putting over his head one way or another. It didn't matter how far out he came. I had made my mind up. And thinking back to the kind of game at Firhill against Hibs, when I missed that chance, the next 2 weeks after that was an international break. So we actually had no game for a couple of weeks, which probably made it worse for me, because you know what it's like. If you miss a chance and you lose a game, you want to go back out the next week and try and put it right. And now I'm sitting thinking, I've got 2 weeks where we don't have a game. We're just training. But see, for those 2 weeks, I was like a machine. I trained harder than anybody. I hit the gym more than anybody. I'd done everything. But I was determined that our next game, which was Inverness away, I was going to put it right. And we went up there and we scored. See the goal with about 30 passes. It was cut back and I put it in the bottom corner. That was the next game. And then the goalie dropped one at my feet to make it 2-1. So again, it's just like, but I was obsessed of making things right, because I didn't want to let people down and let the club down and let the fans down, and people think, oh, he had that chance and he couldn't take it. I knew I could take it. I just don't know what possessed me to take a touch. So when we went to Easter Road, that's why as soon as I turned him on the halfway line, I don't know whose support. Is it Kris Doolan's maybe just inside? I could maybe even have squared it to. I don't even know. Is there any support there?
No.
So I wasn't too sure. I wasn't even too sure. That's what I mean. I've never had that kind of pace. But all of a sudden, I've just, I was hell bent on getting to the goals as quick as I could, and putting in the back of the net. And I was so confident that I could do it. It's not even as if. And I remember that kind of mindset of being dead certain that if I get through, it's going over his head.
It's brilliant. One if I can mention my favourite goal, just that Inverness one was amazing. Like the first touch. But there's one that we had. I think it was a Sunday morning game or Sunday lunchtime game against Rangers at Firhill, when we had a cracking flown move, and Kris Doolan whips it near post, and you just steal a half yard on him and header right in front of the Johnny Lambie stand. That was special. But you had a knack of scoring against the Old Firm as well, didn't you? You just when you're on the park, you just scored.
Aye, and that's, it's one of the things where, like I say, it's not by chance that you're in the same place or in the right place at the right time. You're in the right place all the time. And I think at the time we had good players who could, put the ball in areas, and I just we worked together so hard at training to put things in place that I wasn't guessing where the ball was going. I knew where the ball was going. Then it's up to me to finish it. It's up to the wide players or the fullbacks to get it into that area in the first point. That's their job, and it was up to me to try and finish it. So I think when you play the Old Firm, you won't get many chances. I think that's the clear thing. So we knew that we had to work really hard to make sure that if we did get a chance, we carved out a good chance, and somebody was there to put it away. And I scored a few against the Old Firm, more so probably against Rangers than against Celtic. But I never felt as if I would need 3 or 4 chances. I always felt as if we get one chance, and it'll hopefully be a good chance, and I'll put it in the net.
So what about Celtic? A sort of typical Doolan goal, like a wee touch in the box and hitting it away for the keeper. At the Parkhead, you chipped the keeper. A bad pass back.
Again, that was one of the things where I actually remember when Thomas is kicking the ball out. I think Squiddy maybe goes to challenge for it, and then I was already running towards their goalie, because I just thought there's no way he's going to pass this back, but if he does, I'll try and cut it out. But as soon as he passed it, it was bound. It was kind of bobbling already, and I've already seen the goals. I can already see the goalie standing off his line, so I had my mind's already made up. I didn't need a touch, and I think that's the kind of key to it, is to knowing where it's going before it actually. So not waiting to take a touch, then decide where it's going, because in the Premiership you won't get that time.
See, that wasn't a completely audacious finish, that, because if you remember, we were 3-0 down in the cup. It was live on the BBC. We were getting pumped, right? And then that completely changed the game, and we overran Celtic in that second half.
That's right.
We were 2-0 down, Donners. I think we were 2-0 down pretty early, but we got back to 2-1 just at half time with that goal, and then we really gave them a game in the second half.
Yeah, it was. A goal changed a game like that, and that's what it was. But I mean,
was there no a chance right at the end? Was it Ryan Edwards maybe had sliding in and just misses?
Yes, it was Edwards. Is
that right? I remember that, because that would have been equaliser.
Because it was 3-2 we lost in the end, wasn't it?
Yep.
Salmon scored as well.
There was something about Kieran Tierney with a absolutely ridiculous defensive challenge. It was something.
That was the one with Ryan Edwards. He blocks Ryan Edwards.
Yes, that is it.
No, listen. One final thing I want to do, the academy. Kris, this has been sensational. This is, the media attention you get in social media, Twitter, Facebook, just everything you've done to build this up. Was this has this been in your head for a long time, or does this go back to originally when you were talking about, the community programs and stuff like that?
I think it was always in my head to set it up anyway, regardless. I think we just chose the right time to do it. I think more so than anything, it was probably just the right time to set it up. And it's been mobbed ever since. I think timing probably was everything when setting it up. I think we just hit the ground running in terms of the timing. But I always had the plan to set up something that we could help younger players, help kids, to show them that, like I said, it's just one person's opinion. If somebody says you're not good enough or strong enough or fast enough, doesn't mean that your career's finished at 14 or 15 or whatever age. So the kind of way that we try and do it is that we try and say, well, professional players, I think, have something to give to young players. And I think a lot of that is obviously advice, but the type of coaching, the way that we coach them, what we're coaching them, we're not giving them the bullshit that and the do 1,000 step overs and 1,000 keep ups, because you don't do that in a game. We'll teach you the exact things you will need to learn to be a good footballer. And basically the kind of thinking behind it is that I want to give players an education, not that they just turn up and you just come for a wee kick about and a wee run about. We don't do that. We educate you, and that doesn't matter whether they're 5 years old or that we take guys all the way up to 20, into professional teams as well. It's not even that it's just wee kids we're dealing with. We deal with all different football levels. But it's been great. And the good thing of it is that yes, you get to go back out and help the kids, but you see just what it means to them as well. Bringing professional players and professional coaches and stuff along, and obviously the coronavirus stuff has impacted it a little, because we can't always get to certain things and we can't do everything that we want to be doing. But it's been so busy, because I think you see just people will want their child to get the best football education they can. And like I said, I went a route that isn't necessarily seen as the easiest or the best or whatever, but it was just one route of however many. And what we try and say is, boys and girls who are in football academies at professional level, if you're released, come to us, because we'll look after you, we'll train you, we'll try and help you find another club at a level that you're suitable for. And I think that's important, that players will all have a level, regardless of what level that is. It's about trying to find them the level that, one, they're happy with, and two, you can actually do well at. There's no point trying to pitch players at a level that's just too high at them, for them, and then they fail and they think that they're a failure because they haven't hit the heights, when really you've maybe put them in at a level that's just too much for them. So that's the kind of thinking behind it. But it's been great, that it's going back to, obviously I've done all my coaching badges anyway, so it's kind of it's keeping me busy with it, and it's just been something that I always had a passion to open it anyway, and I'm delighted that we did, because it's, like I said, it's been really busy ever since.
Fantastic.
It's been brilliant. From you see the posts, it's great. The kids are posting videos and stuff like that as well. Stuff that they're learning with you, and of course you've got some. I know some of your teammates. One of your teammates has been helping as well.
Yeah, we've got a few of them coming out. We've got who do we have? We've got Kris Erskine, obviously comes out and does coaching with us. Kris is going through his badges as well just now, so he comes out, and it's good. A lot of the things that Squiddy helps just now with is the one-to-one stuff. So we do a lot of we do loads of one-to-ones, and again, that's where we try and teach the kids good habits, and we try and show them that this is the type of stuff you need to learn. So who better to learn off of than a professional player like Kris Erskine? We also have guys like Brian McLean from Morton, Scott Robertson, who was at Partick Thistle for a wee while, who's at Stranraer now. Good guys who have a lot to pass on, a lot of experience to pass on, but have a manner to pass that on. And that's one of the things that I'm kind of big on, that, we don't go out there and shout and ball and scream and tell them this is what we do. Yeah. We show you. We will show you how to do it and why to do it.
Do you know what?
So that's why I bring the guys in.
See, watching Erskine do the one-to-one training, can he actually coach people to stand on the ball, beat two people, and put it in the top bin?
That's uncoachable. Squiddy's uncoachable. What Squiddy says is, do as he says, not as he does.
What was the old George Best line? There's footballers today that can trap the ball further than I could kick it.
Well, I mean, the one-to-one stuff is amazing in terms of it's so popular because, like I said, it is an education. We give people an education, but they get to spend that time where it's all about them, and we will fit that around your position, and make everything specific to that person, regardless of what age they are. We've got boys and girls who come from Rangers, Celtic, everything, every level, and we've also got boys and girls who don't even play for a team, but who want to. So if we can help them get to a local boys club or a wee girls team, that's fine. And if they get into a youth academy, a pro youth academy, that's great. But we're always there as a safety net if it doesn't go the way you expect it or hope it to go. You can always come to us and we will look after you. And I think one of the things that we find is everybody we go out and take a lot of teams. A lot of the things we do is team sessions, and there's hundreds. We've done hundreds and hundreds of team sessions, but we've been all over Ayrshire into Glasgow, to the point where it's like, we've got relationships and partnerships set up with a load of teams where we look after every age group. From under 8s all the way up to under 20s. We'll provide them with things. I'll help structure their training, help structure their club, just to make sure that the environment is right, or what I think children need to succeed, or to get to the next level, whatever that may be. Nothing's to say that they're all going to become professional football players. That's probably not going to happen. But you need to get to a level that, like I said, one, that you're happy at, and two, that you're actually good at, because being good at something is what makes you happy. So we try and help as much as we possibly can with that.
It's a fantastic job that you're doing, Kris, and to set this up and to give youngsters, that kind of chance. And by the sounds of it, you've got a backroom staff lined up then for your manager's role if they offer comes along.
Oh, that's already sorted. That'll be fine. Once Squiddy gets through his badges, he'll be sorted.
you know what? You should basically get a manager's job, bring in Lawless and Bannigan as assistants, and it would just be a riot. All the players would have such a laugh.
It would be good fun. It would definitely be good fun. Like I say, they always used to joke about with Banzo and Lawless. It's always a kind of long running joke, but no, like I said, they're the type. You need certain types of people at your football club, regardless of what level you're at. You need certain types of people. I think if it's going to be any success at any level, whatever success may be, like I said, for Arbroath, staying in the championship is success. So it doesn't matter what level you're at or what your expectations are. You need the right type of people as well as the skill level, obviously, to get you where you want to go. So I think that's with my kind of football academy as well. That's why we're quite big on the way we deliver things, not just what we're delivering, but the methods that we go through and the way we work that I think works best.
Well, Kris, it's fantastic to see what you're doing. It's been a fantastic chat with you, Kris, and honestly, you've given up so much time to us this morning. I know you've got
no worries at all. No problem. It's nice to see you again.
You've got game day game tomorrow. Game Saturday again.
Yep, game tomorrow. Home to Dunfermline tomorrow.
Home to Dunfermline, so big game. So all the best for that. All the best to you at Arbroath for the rest of the season as well. Big thanks to Donners, to Alan, but most importantly to Kris Doolan for giving up all this time. Apologies about the internet issue for about 5-10 minutes. So
I never missed you.
I know.
You never do, lads. You never.
I thought you were away for Fajita Friday there.
Actually, it's about that time. Once again, thank you very much for joining us, Kris. Thanks to everybody who's continued to watch with us and enjoy this. And this will be, I can tell you now, it's definitely a two-parter. Hopefully this will be back in action maybe in the next 3-4 weeks, maybe. Fingers crossed. But we'll be back next week with another guest. In the meantime, stay safe, look after yourselves, and on the Jags.
I got high hopes, takes me back to when we started. High hopes, when you let it go out and start again. High hopes, when it all comes to an end. I got high hopes, takes me back to when we started. High